Hey everybody, Kevin here from HumboldtCraftworks. Welcome back to another episode of Woodworking with Mr. Kevin. That's me. And today what we're going to do is we're going to build a very crooked cabinet for a treehouse. That's right, a treehouse. I have a client that's turning their treehouse into a bed and breakfast. It's all in the redwoods. It's up about 20 feet in the air on a huge stump. And if they'll let me, I'll put a picture of it over here. So they needed a cabinet and they said, hey, build us a cabinet since I'm doing their other kitchen also. Today, I'm going to show you how to build a crooked cabinet for a treehouse. I'll put a couple pictures up here that I took of the opening and the space and what they have in there. This has to hold 2 trash cans, a microwave, and a big drawer. And here's what it looks like right here.
What?
See that? There's a ladder that goes up here that goes upstairs. It's got a redwood slab for the top with a cute little sink in it. There's actually wood floors in this thing. A beautiful bathroom. If I could take a picture of it, I will, and I'll put it up here. So here, we're gonna make a cabinet that looks like this. It's gonna be very cool. This is the way you start your project. If you ever got to build something crooked and you don't know how to start, well, this is how you start. And what we do is we put these together and fit it in the opening, and we just put it on there and we clamp it into place, right? And this one's kind of crooked, so it kind of looked like that. It's 8 degrees. I actually figured it out, and I'll show you how to figure it out shortly. And then what we do is we take a glue gun and we just glue gun this into place. Clamp it all together with little tiny spring clamps, and you hot glue the seam. And then when you're all done, you get something that looks like this. And there's one other thing. It's all inset. Inset means all the doors and everything are flush with the face frame, and it's black. I don't know if I showed you that last job, which is the same client that wanted black, but this is gonna be made out of poplar, and it's gonna be black. So this is how we go about figuring out how wide our face frame is. From this, I usually measure it all out, figure all the parts out, and then I draw it out. All right, you got this. I do it the old-fashioned way. I draw it by hand. I have a table with an arm on it. It works really good. It's accurate as hell. We'll zoom in on that. That's what it's gonna look like right there. So the only complicated thing really about this is cutting the angles when you're building the face frame. Make sure you get it right. I'm gonna build the face frame right to this. Even though I know it's 8 degrees, this fit in there like a glove. I'll put a picture of this over there too. And then we gotta get out of the way of the plumbing and all this other crap, and the refrigerator's still gotta work, so yeah. I'm gonna mill up all the parts and we'll start assembling it. Floor's gotta be mitered into this side. Then we're gonna have cleats that have to be mitered up here. And we're gonna have to put cleats in loosely because all the plumbing and the sinks in the way and all sorts of crap's in there. It ought to be a fun little build. All right, once this is made and we'll have it back at the shop, usually there's a couple ways you could figure out the angle. So to figure out this angle, sometimes I use like stuff like this Stret. Put it in here, line it up, boom, mark it, and try to read it. For this, I need extra big glasses, or just like 3 or 4 pairs at once so I can actually read it. 8 degrees is what the Stret says, and this is pretty damn accurate. There's also another way you can do it. It's more fun. Take our piece here, put it in my jaw clamp over here. You see that? Jaw clamp magic. So I have this Wixie digital angle gauge, and what we do is we'll just turn it on. We're gonna lay it sideways like this and lay it down flat as you can, and hit the 0 button. Okay, hopefully it zeroes out. And then what you do is you just lift it up on this guy and you try to hold it as still as possible. And it should tell you the angle of the dangle. Can you zoom in on that? Does it say 8? I can't tell. No. Oh, bags. So you can use your Stret or something like that. You can use your Wixie digital angle gauge. Or you can use these guys. I have probably 6 of these. These are angle finders. You can do the same thing here. Just make it sort of loosey kind of there and put it up like that there. So once you have your angle finder locked into place, you come over to your chop saw, and then you take your chop saw and you set your chop saw up until that lines up with the blade. Absolutely perfect. That lined up with this just fine. It said 8 degrees, and I cut a piece like this. I'll put this together here. Boop. That lines up like magic. Just like that. So we're gonna go with, this is 8 degrees. And there's the top. It also says 8. So 8 degrees. So there's several different ways you can figure out whatever the angle is and how to make that angle. You got your angle finders. You can buy a Stret like this. It'll tell you any angle you want. Or you could use the Wixie. It tells you what degree it is. Just got to make sure when you're using something like this, it doesn't wiggle. You got to be very steady and gentle with it because it's very sensitive. It goes home and cries when you move it because it's that sensitive. He wiggled me too much and I couldn't work. That's what it says. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my beautiful plans right here and I'm going to make a quick cut list. There's a video about a cut list over here. So I'm going to glue up the pieces I need, mill the parts I need, plane everything to size, sand it all up, and next time you see me, we'll be assembling the face frame. I'll see you shortly. Okay, here we go. I almost forgot to turn the damn camera on, and I already started building the face frame. Started laying all of this out. using the template that we made on the job site. I'll try to lift this up. Oh, crap. I forgot to like screw those together. But anyway, you can see the face frame, right? You see that? So I just fit this to the outside of the template that I made earlier. And what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna put the rest of the rails in, and I'm actually using some of the parts. Like this right here is the false front that goes up here. It's got an 8-degree cut on it, and so that fits in there like that. This rail right here has got an 8-degree cut in it also. So this side gets all the 8-degree cuts. This side just gets a regular old 90-degree cut. And if we have to go between 90 and 8 degrees, I use this all the time to find the right angle. And I also mark on my chop saw over here. I'll take a picture of it. I'll put it up over here. I kind of get it close with the pencil mark, and then I kind of dial it in with this so everything's exactly the same. This shelf right here will have to be 8-degree cut this way. Floor is going to have to be 8-degree cut, which I'm going to do on the table saw. The cleats I'm just probably going to do on the chop saw because they're easy enough to do. I'm just using little 16th inch shim pieces here, and I'm just butting everything in to the shims so it'll be kind of tight. And I'll do the same with this rail here. Little shims, put this in there. And then I'm going to pocket screw this whole thing together, take it over to the job site, and see if it all fits. And once it's all scribed into place, then we can build the rest of it. There's not a lot of room. If you look at that picture right here, there's not a lot of room in there. There's electrical and plumbing and just cramped quarters. If anything's screwed up, I can always just take this apart and fix it, and before I build the whole damn cabinet wrong. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to show up with a cabinet and try to put it in place and have it not fit. I'll let you know how it goes, and I'll show you the rest once I get all this together. All right. All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm on the table saw mitering up parts. Here is the face frame template. So we went from this right here to this right here. We're gonna use this as our template now because this has been fit in the opening and it works. So we're gonna use this to do all of our mitering for all the plywood that we have sitting down here. So if you ever have a job, it doesn't matter what it is, and you're not sure exactly what the size is, doing it like this and fitting this in the opening ahead of time will really help. That way you know all your crazy angles, because not everything's perfect. You know, you got the rough carpenters out there being rough, and you got to put your stuff in and make it look good. Making templates like this is super easy to do. I did a butcher block countertop when I was doing those stairs. I'll put a picture over here. I made a template of the entire thing because it was 36 by 10, and the pieces they got weren't quite right. So we actually had to take one, flip it upside down, and miter them together. One backwards and one normal, and it worked out. But I made templates kind of like this and just fit it all in there. It took me a day to make the templates, and it only took me a half a day to put the whole thing together, domino it up, glue it in place, and boom, done. All right, so we have the table saw all set up right here. I'll put a picture of the little Wixie over here. It's set at 8 degrees, right? We're gonna have the sides that come down first, and then we're gonna put the floor in, but we gotta miter this end on the floor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find the best side. Yeah, I guess that'll work. So this side will be up. So I'm gonna write on everything. That's what I always do, up. This is the floor, and that is the face frame. When we attach the face frame, the sides are gonna go all the way down to the floor. This floor is gonna come in somewhere like that. And this side over here is gonna get mitered at 8 degrees, kind of like the face frame is down here in the corner. You see that? So when you mill everything, mill the width that you need, leave your length long, and put a parentheses around the long part. That way you know it's long. So this one I already wrote on. It says mitered side. The side's out, we have to miter the top and the bottom. This has got to be mitered to 8 degrees. That side's got to be mitered to 8 degrees. Usually what I'll do is I'll lay it in here. I'll flush up the face. Okay, so I'm actually using the face frame itself to scribe on the miter. Okay, that should be on there. Let's check it out. So that's marked there, that's the miter there, and there's another one there. So now that we have that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the little arrows on it so I know which side I'm cutting off, because sometimes I do stupid things. We're just gonna lay this over, and we're just gonna cut it. I'm gonna roll up the table saw blade, right? I don't want it much higher. Maybe 1 tooth above is all we wanna go. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna use the table saw fence to line this up, and I'm gonna take a picture of it right here so you can actually see it. Need to go this way just slightly. So this is at 34.5. There we go, and that should leave us some room. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut it like this. Picture over there, you see that? Okay, that's gonna be our first cut. We're just gonna cut it. So the first cut is gonna be face down. The second cut, we're gonna have to flip over, put it on its back, reset the saw up, whatever that's gonna be, and cut it again. Because they're both going the same direction, you know what I mean? So I gotta flip the thing over to get them going this way. They're both going like this, like that. And I'm gonna cut it fat of the line, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fit it to the face frame as we go along. All right, here we go, magic button. should have the ends mitered. See how they're mitered? That looks pretty good. So I have these two angles on this piece that match these two angles here. And it's pretty flush right now. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna sand with 150 the inside and the outside. I'm gonna put pocket screws on the one side and we're gonna attach it to the face frame. And then what we'll do is we'll put the floor in, which we're gonna use the same 8-degree cut for. And Squeaker says it's gonna be amazing. You see that? Pocket screws. I use the old Craig's 9,000-year-old pocket screw jig. We have our angled face frame, we have our mitered part. Bring these together like this. And magically, we're gonna use these clamps. Tighten that up. It feels pretty good already. Dead blow. Okay, so I know a lot of people have hammers, right? Not a lot of people have dead blows. Now, a dead blow is full of lead. So when you hit something, it doesn't bounce. And if you hit your finger, it hurts like hell. So if you're ever thinking about buying a dead blow, it's a great thing for moving things. You know, move it over. Hammer does just as good, except for this will leave a ding in your wood. This will just leave a ding in your thumb or your finger. And smash it flat like a fly with a fly swatter. They come in all different sizes. They're very handy and useful. All right, so I'm making it flush with this end here. I'm gonna hold that in place here. You see that? Flush. We got 2 pocket screws up where the drawer front goes. And we got 3 down there where the drawer goes. What we're gonna do is start at the top, work our way down. All right, pocket screw, you can tell by the sound, you know when it's in there. And I should probably lower the clamp now. Clamp the snot out of it. Now we're gonna put this one in here. Hear the sound, goes up, it's tight. Now that we've done that, we're gonna go down to this guy down here. Now you might ask yourself, why aren't you gluing that? This whole damn thing I don't think will fit through the door of the treehouse or make it up the stairs because there's a little tiny passageway. If I have to take it apart and cut things out when I'm up there to get everything to fit, nothing's glued. There you go, see that? An angled side. It's a trapezoidal. So now that the cabinet looks like this and the side's on, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna miter the floor real quick. I gotta find a floor. If this is the floor and this ends up, the 8-degree miter needs to go this way. So that means that we have to take this, flip it upside down, face down, and we're gonna cut that. Magic button. All right, here's this part. This is a false front, so it doesn't matter if you see pocket screws. This right here is a pull-out. I'm gonna tell him in a second. Jeez, that's good. Squeaker says this is where the trash cans go. There's 2 trash cans. So if you're not really sure to where to put your pocket screws, you can always just set things up like this, lay them in place, and just mark it from the inside. You don't want to wind up putting a pocket screw into another pocket screw like right here. So, and then I just probably put them about every 5 or 6 inches or so. And you gotta watch it down here, because you don't want to get in the way of the drawer glide, especially down here, because there's a pocket screw right in here, and hitting a screw on a screw you wouldn't think would happen very often, but you'd be amazed how often it happens. So when I'm going from plywood to hardwood, I'm using the little tiny 1.25" fine thread screws. If I was going into plywood, I would use the coarse thread. There's a difference, and it does matter. The little thin thread ones don't really suck into plywood very good. They strip out easy. So here's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna make that floor flush up here. Just measure the front here, 32.25, and then we're gonna add a quarter to it. Just gonna take a square, mark it. We're also marking it down 32.5, and nope, more. Shove that up against there. We're on the wrong side of the blade. I think we got it. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do now. We're just gonna cut this down, and hopefully we got it right, and it'll fit right in the floor, and it'll be all square. Magic button. It's still fat by a little bit. I just want to see how it fits. What we want to do is we want to make sure that the floor is flush with this. So we'll probably have to cut it a couple times to make sure that it gets up there flat. Okay, there's the bottom. I'm going to mark where the pocket screw is going to go, sand the top, and we'll put it together. I got it in there a little snug so it just holds it in place. First thing we're going to do is going to get this front edge attached. I'm feeling inside here to make sure it's flush. I can also push this out with my thumb. This thumb here pushing out. I can also pull in with my fingers like this and make sure it stays flush. Okay, so I'm using my square and it looks like it's coming out, so I'm gonna have to bang it towards me. And that's that. Now we got the hard one to do, which is over here. So right there is a 1/2 inch. You can see that. I don't know if you can see it. This got to go way over there, and that's a 1/2 inch. So this thing's flexible. Every time you try to tighten this side up, you're gonna have a problem. Because when you try to tighten it, it comes out farther, because that's just what it does. All right, so I have a mark up here where that needs to go. I got an idea. Hold on one second. I'm just gonna do this. Gotta outsmart the wood. Hopefully this will stay. I'm gonna put this up here. I'm gonna pull this towards me. Put my little square here and take my pencil and I'm gonna mark this whole freaking thing. Okay, so you can see where the pencil marking is. That's where it has to go. So now we have at least a pencil mark. We're gonna get this one, we're gonna work our way up and keep an eyeball on that. It's gonna wanna come towards me, which will make the floor out of whack. And all your drawers will one will be drooping down, the other one will be drooping up, and it's inset, and if it's not set right, it'll be screwed. All right, I can still see the pencil mark, and every time I come up and tighten one up, it'll stay in place better, and this top one should be not that big a deal. Okay, and then we got one last one up here. All righty. I'm gonna get my square and I'm gonna check this. Perfectly square, do it like this, boom, perfectly square. We have to put this little interior wall in also, which is only 13 inches because there's a sink in the way. I'm gonna pocket screw this side over here because this is where the trash cans are and it doesn't matter. This gets seen right here. There's also a shelf in here I have to cut to 8 degrees. So I'm gonna pocket screw this side over here where my hand is. We'll screw this from underneath and then I'm gonna add a little piece down here because the drawer glides are 21 inches long. I'm just gonna do that so that won't go anywhere. So now I'm gonna go get the drawer glides. We'll see how this works. So I have to add a wall here. What I'll do is I'll just rip down something like this and we'll put it in here nice and square. I'm gonna make this side flush. That way I don't have to deal with this because this side over here gets the same blow motion glides. This is where the trash can pull-out thing is. And I'm gonna have to make my own because they don't make them this small. All right, I got it together. There we go. Our angle cabinet's coming along. All right, everybody, see you tomorrow. So now we're working on the trash compartment recycle bin. It's very small, and there's like 8 inches or 9 inches for this compartment to hold these itty bitty little trash cans, and nobody makes any hardware for that at all. So I use blow motion glides, built a little base for it, and I'll show you that in a little bit. I had to dado things around the little locking mechanisms, and I had to add pieces to it. Now I'm working on the sides, which are these pieces right here, and I don't even know if you can see that or not. I have to bandsaw this out. This is the front part right here. This gets attached to a piece of 1/2 inch going up this way, which we're going to attach the door front to basically. And this will hopefully hold it square. I'm going to edge sand all the parts and try to make it as beautiful as possible. Once I attach it and get everything working, I'm going to pull the whole thing apart and show you what it looks like. All right, here it is. So here's our piece. And here's what I've made so far. Pretty simple, right? Barely fits in the opening. I'll put a picture of the opening over here somewhere. A little skinny ass thing, but this has to fit in here. All right, here's the bottom. Now see, I had to dado this out because the locking mechanisms that make and help the thing adjust with the little holes. Here's the holes in the back of the blow motion, all right? So we have the holes for the blow motion, and the actual adjuster sits above the damn glide itself by like 3/16, which is that right there. And you have to actually slide it in and have these locking mechanisms locked to the lock, right? So you can't just put a little slot in there and expect it to work because you have to slide it back and forth. And figuring that out, I made this about 3/4 of an inch so I can actually put it in there in the little hole, slide it in the slots, and then click these together and lock them into place. These blow motions have side-to-side adjustment and up and down, and the back also. In the blow motions, you can tilt the front forward and back like this and turn it sideways, and you can do all sorts of crazy adjusting. Put these little blocks here to guide myself in on the inside of the glides so it lines up with these holes, because I tried it several times from the outside, which when I go to install it, I'm gonna have to do, and it was a pain in the ass, and I couldn't do it, so I just tacked those in with some micro nails, sanded them over so they're smooth. This is the problem here. This is the end of the glide. This is how the trash cans have to fit in, and the back of the trash cans back in here, because I need 24 inches in there, a 21-inch cabinet. And you're like, well, how's it gonna work? Because it's gonna hit the back of the cabinet. There is no back of the cabinet. It goes another 4 or 5 inches, but it's behind a refrigerator and you can't see it, so I just left it short because I didn't want to charge them for an extra sheet of plywood. Now what I have to do is I have to attach this to this right here. It's not that difficult to do, but if you don't get this part square right here, and this whole thing from here all the way up to here is not perfectly square, then the door is gonna be leaning in or out, back and forth, side to side. So this is gonna be flush here and it's flush here. There it is. It feels kind of sturdy. So I'm gonna take this apart and we're gonna make another one of these. This time I'm gonna flush trim it, basically. And we'll just get it done really quick. and we're gonna make a duplicate of this. See you in 2 seconds. Ready, 1, 2, and we're back. All right, we're getting closer and closer. Here's the world's most easiest drawer to build. It's just a half lap or rabbited joint. So I got the full 5/8 rabbited into here in 5/16 on all 4 sides. And it just clicks together like nobody's business. You can do this with plywood, a 1/2-inch plywood, or I like to use 5/8 poplar. And this has got that little crazy angle on it. Let's see if I can slide it in here. Just slide it on in. It should click into place. Pull it out. You want to double check, make sure these are locked in. Yeah, it looks like they have. So it's a square drawer with a crooked drawer front on it. False front's in. Our microwave thing is in. All this is going to be dyed black. So I use little 16th-inch shims here. They're poster board that I use, and that's how I fit everything. I do have a machinist shim. This is 1/16 of an inch thick, and it slides right in, and you just put it in, make sure it all fits around there. So here's what we were making earlier, but now we got to figure out how to get this in there. So we got to hop it over. We got to put this in place. This has got to lock in. All right, and it's got to click into place. And then you have to double check these because sometimes they don't lock. And make sure they're all clicked in. So that's clicked in. Oh, you know what it did? When I pulled this on the carpet, it raised this one up all the way and it was leaning that direction. You got to start out with them flat. Okay, and that looks pretty good. And hopefully this will hold this up and won't be too wiggly, but it's kind of wiggly. So I'm gonna start out with this space at a 1/16 of an inch and we'll see what happens, but I have a feeling it's just gonna rub on the corners or whatever because it's wobbly. Okay, and if you're having problems from side to side, those little wheels underneath here, you can actually move them. So you pull the wheel to whatever side you want it to move to. So if I wanna go all the way to the right here, okay, you can see how it's all on the one side. I slide it the other way, it'll move all the way on the other side. That way you can balance it out from side to side and up and down. Super easy to do. Here's what I was talking about, these little wheels here. You move them both one direction, the whole thing will move over. Move them the other direction, the whole thing will move the other way. Very cool. So what I have to do now is I have to put holes in this face. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna drill 6 holes in here, and then we're gonna use drawer front screws, and then we're gonna put the drawer front in. All right. So that worked out pretty good. It's in there pretty flat. It's flush in the front here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually take my metal shim here, and I'm just marking everything. Or we could do this. This is the other thing you could do. Where are those shims at? You take this and go like this, boom, and you slide it up and you're shoving the thing over. Okay, now we got this and we're gonna pull it this way. So this side right here is pulled up against tight, and whatever this is, it's gonna be. And now we're gonna go ahead and mark it. And I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the same. This will just butt into that. Put a pencil mark. I'm gonna come over here, butt into the face frame, right up against it. Put a pencil mark. Up here, I'm touching the face frame, put a pencil mark. So now I know whatever the opening is, it could be totally out of square. I'm gonna make it look like it's perfect just by doing that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna edge sand that down, hit this with the joiner one side one time, and then I'll edge sand it smooth, and we'll edge sand down below here, and then we'll come back and refit it. And usually a good rule of thumb is always make the flames go up, not down, because it looks stupid when they're going down. The flames go up. See the flames? All right, there's another tip for you from Mr. Kevin. All right, everybody, our crooked cabinet is done. The only thing we have left to do is to make it this color here. So my client liked this color on our kitchen. This is Doug Fir dyed black, and it's just not a regular dye. This is calligraphy ink. Calligraphy ink right here. So this ink is called Speedball Super Black Calligraphy ink, and you have to keep stirring it up because this actually has shellac in it. So it makes it waterproof when you write on stuff, and you can actually brush this stuff on. But I found that if you overstroke it, like you put a little bit on here and it dries and you put more on it, and it'll get really streaky. So I've been doing a lot of testing. So if you thought building all this was crazy, staining it's even worse. So I'm gonna break all this down, take all the parts off, pull the hardware out, and get ready to stain. So we're gonna take one part of this, we're gonna fill this bottle all the way up. We're just gonna dump that in there. We're gonna do 2 of these, we'll do 3, why not? All right, there we go. 3 of the ink. Now we're gonna do 3 of the denatured alcohol. Oh no, we're doing 3 of the acetone. Sorry, I keep getting that wrong. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now this is about that full. I use these yogurt containers for everything, for finish, mixing dyes together, mixing stains together, because they're food grade plastic and they don't melt. Do not put the lid on without drilling a hole. A little tiny hole. I got an itty bitty little hole there. It's like less than a 1/16 of an inch, just to let the pressure out. I was here with my friend and we were talking about this and I wanted to show her. And as soon as I pop this loose, it exploded and went everywhere. All over my face, all over my clothes. Thank God it didn't get all over her. And it wasn't the first time that happened. It's happened before. So I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did it again. Pressure builds up in there. So we're gonna start out doing the edges, and I'm gonna use this brush just to do the edges. All right, now I gotta do this side. This is a used brush. I used this for water-based polyurethane earlier. All right, here we go. The reason we go both directions, just like with putting polyurethane on, is you want it to get into the grain both directions as much as possible. All right, we got all of it. Put that over there. So I'm gonna take my towel here, my little rag, and I'm gonna brush in one direction when it's all still wet, as much as possible. I'm gonna flip it and get another dry spot. Now, if I do it too much, it'll start burning through the grain. Can you kind of see the grain? Okay, that's what we're hoping for. And now I'm gonna let this dry. And if I have to later on, I'm gonna wipe it down with a clean rag with acetone on it. Same thing, one direction, the whole damn thing. Okay, I had to open the garage door a little bit. It's getting smelly in here. All right, there's that. I'm gonna go one direction. Now we're gonna go the opposite direction. Now I'm gonna look for little spaces that I missed, like right there. If you rub it too hard also, you get like a light spot. I'm gonna let this dry. With the acetone in there, it'll flash off pretty quick. So I'm gonna come back and look at this in a little bit. Now, whenever I do finishing, I don't know if you can see, I put 3/4 inch scrap wood down here and I screw it to the bottom. And the reason I do that is so I could do this right now, is slide it all over the place. Like when I'm spraying the bottom, I'll hang this way over the edge and I'll shoot the bottom of that. But for this, I can slide it around, it's up, I can stain the bottom of this and it's off the ground. You know what I mean? If you're trying to brush right onto this or whatever, it's not a good idea. So I'm gonna start on this side and go that way. I'm gonna use my little chisel tip brush here, because I'm gonna do the interior of all the face frames. I don't really care if I get stain on the inside or it's sloppy looking, because it's the inside of the cabinet and you only see that never, unless you're drunk and fall over and you're looking up and you're like, hey, that's not stained. When you're staining something always, and you're brushing it on, start at the top, work your way down, because if you get too much stain on your brush, it'll just run down anyway. And you might as well help yourself out. You don't wanna go down here and work your way up because it ain't no good. Start at the top and let gravity help you out.
Warning. 3, 2, 1. Go! Ooh. Ah.
Subscribe now.
I always don't speak correctly. You ever notice that? Huh. Am I out of square? Is that the middle? I'm way over here? Oh, I'm right here. Shazam. I'm off-centered. These were 8 inches long, or at one time these were 8 feet long. You can use your Dixie Winkle angle flag, because there'd be, you don't want to, and they're not very far. It's only, yeah. White. Did I just get brighter for some reason? I'm not that smart to begin with. I'll take every brightness I can get.